Typically for us, mule deer season tends to come in two separate waves. The first big push is the opening week in early September, where we try to capitalize on some of the giant old bucks we've been watching all summer. But come the middle of the month, we find ourselves drifting off after other species like elk and moose, and it isn't until the early part of October that we return to the prairies to finish what we had started. But I guess it's never that easy. You see, somewhere in that 2 to 3 week period in the end of September, the entire landscape undergoes a massive change. The first frost of the year begins the slow decay of grass and shrubs, turning the prairies from a lush green oasis to a barren brown desert. With this change also comes changes to the mule deer's routine, and we no longer find deer in the same places as a month earlier. Many of the giant bucks we were chasing at the beginning of the season crawl into a hole and vanish, while new deer seem to find their way into areas that we've never seen them before. Some years, this new wave of deer proves to be incredible, with several giant shooters showing up, but some years are also the opposite. And although we may have been chasing a handful of shooters a month earlier, they often vanish, and we're left scouring the landscape trying to locate them. Occasionally, we get lucky and find them, but for the most part, we're searching for new deer in October, and this can prove to be challenging at times. And the October of 2018 would prove to be one of those challenging years. After a really strong start in the first week of September, we were excited to head back down a month later and see what the prairies had in store for us. The weather is unpredictable at this time of year, and the deer can sometimes be tougher to find. For the first week I was down there, I had my childhood friend Devin Nagy with me once again, as we tried to find him his very first archery animal. You may remember last season when he joined me for the very first time. Devin had never hunted mule deer before, but came very close to folding his first tag. After that hunt, we knew that it was going to be a yearly trip, and Devin had come down for the full week this time to increase his odds.
Well, we watched all our bucks from this morning bed down in one little bowl across the coulee. So we're gonna, right now they're about 2.5 kilometers away. So we're gonna try and head over there and get a little closer eyes, because right now everything looks big or everything looks small. Like we don't know what, there's no in-betweeners. Yeah, hopefully we can get one of the bucks in our sights and actually come up with a game plan, because right now it's kind of hard. We're looking at probably a dozen deer still over there and not sure what's what.
Short arms in here, well, I can't reach far enough away.
Need a selfie stick.
Yeah.
Got within 18 yards of the little bugger.
Was he by himself?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I saw a second one run.
You better not have.
I thought I did.
200 incher?
Oh, I didn't see what he was.
Yeah, I didn't see a second one. When he bumped there, I didn't even see where he ran. It was directly behind the spruce trees. Yeah, I still had no care. Wind was blowing at our backs the whole time.
That's insane.
Yeah. That's wicked though. You don't need to shoot them every time. Just doing stuff like that was a hell of an experience.
It's just fun to see him and get in on him, and
yeah, I didn't get any bigger the closer I got, so I don't regret leaving the bow up the hill.
No. We had to blow him out one way or another, so.
Yeah.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Top Grade Construction, Black Widow Innovations, Vortex Optics, Covert Scouting Cameras, Old Smokes Coffee, and the Municipal District of Bonneville. This segment of the show is brought to you by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, a proud supporter of our outdoor heritage. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Deluxe Waltons, built in Canada for Canadian conditions.
We're just ditching all our gear, all the unnecessary junk that we pack around all day, and just stripping down right to bows and cameras and seeing if we can get into position. The wind's picking up rather nice, so by the time we get down there, I think we'll have a pretty good shot at flinging an arrow at this bugger. We ended up having to bump about a dozen other deer coming in here, and they couldn't have bumped any better. I don't think that buck would have suspected a single thing. So as far as we know, we're going to sneak up and over and probably expect, I know there was one nice buck in there and probably two other that are less than desirable. So hopefully the first one we lay our eyes on is our shooter, and hopefully nothing else sees us in the meantime.
We had watched these bucks all morning and knew exactly where they were bedded when we moved in. But the one thing I've learned while chasing mule deer is to always expect the unexpected. While moving in on these bucks at the bottom of the hill, I glanced to our left and spotted another larger buck bedded by himself in a dangerous location. The wind was perfect, and there was lots of cover to hide in, so we instantly switched gears and moved in on him.
Yeah, we came over this little hill, and he's 77 yards away right now.
After relocating into a better position, the buck caught movement and erupted from his bed. We were well hidden, but he knew something was up. We were well within range, but when Devin tried to draw his bow, he didn't realize that his PX2 was caught in the brush, pulling his arrow off his string every time he would try. And before we were able to get it sorted out, he was gone.
Finger pressure on here keeping my arrow, and when I went to draw back twice.
No, I think your broadhead was caught in the sage, wasn't it?
Or it was caught. Yeah, I could not pull it back without my arrow coming off. That was a hell of a deer.
That was a big deer. That was a real big deer.
If he would, I would have drawn back while he was walking that first time.
Yeah.
If he gave me a little less. Like I said, I think he would have, I don't know, he probably wouldn't have. I probably had plenty of time. I was looking at his whole body.
Yeah, he was on to us at that point. I was trying to tell you, draw your bow, draw your bow.
I know, I was waiting for him. So when he started walking though,
yeah,
if he would have given me a little glimpse that way, I think I would have drawn.
Yeah.
Because he was walking towards, right?
Yeah. No, at that point, once he's on to us doing the old stiff-legged walk, you basically just have to draw back and hope he sits there long enough. He would have given you time. If you'd have got your bow back, he'd have let you shoot him.
At 40 yards.
Yeah.
I feel stupid. Like it was almost like a nightmare. I went to draw back. Yeah, it must have been stuck. It had to have been.
Yeah, your broadhead was stuck.
Had to have been.
I was watching you.
I drove down Sunday, met Dana. Where are we, south of Fort McMurray?
Yeah.
Somewhere here, hey? So we tried a couple new spots, and we're probably an hour after sunrise here. And across the coulee we're looking at a really nice 4x4. So we're gonna kind of wait it out, see where he beds down, and hopefully we can make a stalk on him today.
He was over 3.5 kilometers away, and with the morning sun glaring off our spotters, we couldn't make out exactly how big he was. Every once in a while, the sun would hit his antlers just right and reveal a world-class frame. I could make out his deep front forks, but couldn't be certain about his backs. Either way, we had to close the distance and try to get a better look at him. We watched him disappear into a patch of brush with a handful of other bucks, so we made our move. As we got into position and the sun started to fall from the sky, different bucks slowly started to reveal themselves. We were right in amongst them in the brush, and they had no idea we were there. I was certain he was in here, but as more deer started to emerge, I began to get concerned. At first glance, I thought maybe this giant frame buck was him and we had been fooled. But then I noticed that he barely had front forks, and the one that we were after had huge fronts, so we continued to wait. As the rest of the bucks eventually fed out of the brush for the evening, we had to accept the fact that he had given us the slip, and we had wasted all afternoon sitting on a deer that wasn't there.
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Wood Wheaton Supercenter, Deluxe Wall Tents, Top Notch Taxidermy, ExileOutdoors.com, Victory Archery, and Hornady Ammunition. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Top Grade Construction in Lloydminster, Alberta. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by the MD of Bonneville. Lake adventures happen here.
Our week didn't get any easier as we hiked our butts off trying to find a shooter buck. The days just kept ticking by. We were seeing a ton of deer and did a few practice stalks on some smaller bucks just for fun, but we were quickly running out of time.
Well, that was pretty neat. Guess the yardage. 25. The magic number. Yeah. Just little crab claws on them.
On the last afternoon of our hunt, we finally found two of the shooter bucks that we were after. They were together in a creek bottom, and we had no choice but to go in blind after them.
This is the last we saw the buck, but I'm not seeing him anymore.
As we were sneaking through the creek, I caught a glimpse of them feeding away less than 100 yards in the distance. We were caught in the open and had no choice but to rush towards them to make up ground. We literally stood up and ran towards them to try and make it to the other side of the opening before being busted, and we arrived just in time.
Come on, buddy. You got him, Dana. I got him. Did he go down? No, he's still up in there. There he is. Get up. That's him there. Do you still see him?
Fatal Impact is proudly sponsored by Dory River Outfitters, Phone Scope, Matthews Archery, Wapiti River Outdoors, iHunter, and Scree Gear. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Vortex, the force of optics. This segment of Fatal Impact is brought to you by Dory River Outfitters, Saskatchewan's premier bear destination.
How insane was that? I think I smoked him, buddy.
It sounded good.
I almost couldn't find my peep sight.
How far was he, like 15 yards?
I put the 20-yard pin on him, and I'm pretty sure I smoked him.
He's huge, dude. How did that work?
So we caught a glimpse of him. He was probably 30 yards. I had one quick lane. Couldn't get the shot off. Didn't really stop for us. And we were able to damn near run up to this tree. And here he was, 15 yards away, I bet.
I think you nailed him there. You had no idea we were here. Both of them. 275 deer sitting there at 15 yards.
Yeah.
I don't even know which one you shot.
I shot the big one.
They're both big.
Oh, buddy.
Dude.
It went right where I put it, so.
Oh, yeah, he's done it. Oh, we almost gave up on this stalk. We had no wind. We were just going for a leisurely stroll. And then the wind started screaming, and I was like, we might do it. The only thing that saved us is they were on their feet, and we were able to see them.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
How cool is that? And we're here before sunrise, and we caught a glimpse of this bugger on the skyline and see nothing but forks, and I think you guys can see why. Like, this thing is a doozy. Look at the G4, like this is the caliber of deer we came down here for. So we tried to keep our eyes on him. He slithered into this creek bottom, and there's no way you can see a deer in the bottom here. So we gave it some time. We let the wind pick up, and I bet you it wasn't until 2 o'clock Yeah, we had a little snack, hung out in the bottom. I bet you we were 150 yards away from this deer for an hour and had no idea he was there. But I don't know, I'm at a loss for words because I haven't, this is the first trophy speech I've had to do here. When we first stumbled across them, in the bottom here, they were both, there's two of them, two crankers. And our first peek at them, they were both up on their feet. And when they're feeding, everything's moving to them. We were able to run into about 20 yards. And when I say run in, like, it was quick. Dana, he was a couple yards ahead of me with the camera, and he was booking it when he laid eyes on these things. So we had very limited time. It all came together. I was able to get in a nice shooting lane, and I had to stop this deer. He probably wouldn't have given me a shot if I didn't stop him. And put a deadly shot. He didn't go more than 150 yards, I'd say. Like, I could probably throw a football to where I shot this thing.